One lead type can take you to $40,000 per month by focusing and dedicating your craft and understanding exactly how, as a life insurance agent, you need to scale and work your leads. My name is Trey. I'm the owner of Agent Lead Lab. In the past 3.5 years, we've helped over 550 agents issue pay 40K per month. And on this channel, that's really what I focus on, talking about how agents can get to 40,000 a month, how to think through thought processes and principles, as well as how we've now been able to scale our agencies to $1 million a month. So as always, please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. We're going to hop into it today and talk briefly about how one lead type can help you get to 40K and when you should actually pivot. So let's hop right into it. Let me decrease this. Trying to work on my intros a little bit, y'all. So, all right. So cool. Let's talk about the different lead types real quick. Everybody knows we go through them. You have final expense. You've got veterans. Okay. I'm going to go into sub niches. You've got mortgage protection. You've got advanced market / IUL. So it's going to be broken down into like IUL, whole life, annuity. Okay. And then you have custom niches. Okay. So I guess you could put vets and custom niches, final expense. Think more or less about the demographics. I have tons of videos that talking about that, but I want to talk about how each lead type inherently you can get to 40K with each, because I think some people think that the only way you can get there is by doing veterans or mortgage or IUL or whatever. It's like, I can't write 40K of filing expenses. Like, yes, you can, but there's a straightforward way that you have to focus on you being able to scale. Okay. So let's go through final expense. Okay. So let's talk about the average AP. So we're going to go through the average AP of each of these lead types. So that way we can have a better understanding of like what you need to make, how many sales you need to make, because right, it's all about working backwards at the end of the day. Like that's what it looks like. Average AP annuity. It's not AP for annuity, but you all get the point. Let's go average commission. My math is not good. Ooh, that's not good at all. Commission? I don't think. Okay, average column. We're just gonna do that. Don't laugh at me, y'all. You know, my spelling is not the greatest. And then custom niches, right? Average AP, average commission, however you want to look at it. AP, IP, you all get it. It's relative to what we're trying to discuss and what we're trying to go through. So, final expense. Okay, so here's the thing. I had a conversation with one of our clients yesterday, and they brought up that they really like the leads. And I told them how to call the leads, what to say, right? And I can have a whole video on like scripts along with ads, because I think that there's a misconception that, leads are bad. Okay, let's break that down first before we go into talking about lead types. Like certain leads, autocorrect, leads are bad. Okay. And you cannot scale with them. That is not true. Okay. The thing is that all leads inherently really aren't bad. Why? Because at some point somebody opted into something. The problem is that if we don't know what they opted into, we create friction from the beginning of the call. Friction is essentially, imaginary, if you want to call it, wall that determines essentially this kind of like unspoken, unconscious, I don't know, friction is friction. This is kind of the way of saying it. Like it just causes friction because now you're like, wait, what? They're like, yeah. You're like, okay. So when you call somebody, right? If I'm calling somebody and they saw this ad, they're like, hey, I'm giving you a call. You saw, a YouTube video that Trey put out. He was talking about focusing on one lead type to hit 40K. And you mentioned that you might need help focusing on that lead type. Does that ring a bell? Like that is a very clear and straightforward idea. I told you it was on YouTube. I told you watched the video. I sent the person's name. I told you what the video was about. And I mentioned what you filled it out for. Okay. Let's say the opt-in page was like, how to help you focus on one lead type and hit 40K. Versus I'm like, hey, you need more help as a life insurance agent making money. And they're like, yeah, but what? Hello? And now there's this inherent friction because they're like, well, you're random. Are you calling me? Is it spammy? You sound like everybody else. Most people just give clients leads. Like most companies, most vendors, most marketing agencies, they're like, here go leads. But if you give somebody leads and don't explain how to work the leads, I'm not talking about selling, just how to work them in the initial conversation, because People won't get upset if you give them opportunities. They can't. At the end of the day, our job is not to like sell it. Like your job is to be good at what you do and sell. But agents will get upset or think that leads are bad because they cannot get through the intro. And it's like, if you get through the intro and present, you gotta close them. I like people are like, well, are the leads good or are they bad? I'm like, they're not inherently good or bad. It's just how good are they or how quote unquote bad are they based off of what the initial advertising was. Because you can give somebody AIDS leads, and if they understand what to say to repaint the picture for them, it becomes a good lead all of a sudden. And you can give somebody fresh leads, and if they call them and say the wrong thing, they'll be like, well, these leads suck. Why is that important for focusing on one lead type? Because every lead type has its unique differences and subtle nuances that you need to focus on. Okay, so if you're working a final expense lead, for example, your intro needs to be a lot more direct and uh, uh, concrete because the people that you're dealing with. Okay, cool. The people that you're dealing with are not they're older, so they are going to fill out a lot of forms. They are going to forget things. So now you can't be vague like you can with an IUL. Hey, you were looking for tax-free retirement options, right? They're like, yeah. That intro is way different than you saying, hey, you were looking for final expense. They're like, yeah, but wait, what is this? And they're sketched because people are calling in for everything. They fill out a bunch of stuff, lottery tickets. So the demographic is super important. So leads are not inherently good or bad. It depends on, do you know how to work with them and understand that intro? Because if you can't get past the intro, you can't get to the presentation. And if you can't get to the presentation, you can't work on your sales skills. And if you can't work on your sales skills, you can't make more money. So it's not inherently whether they're good or bad. It's, do you understand what they saw on the front end to give yourself an opportunity to work on your skills so you can make money? Because really, making sales and final expense is super straightforward. It's not difficult. Like, they have a pain point, they filled it out. Most of them are on a fixed budget. You figure out the pain point, and then you just apply. Like, it's not, there's nothing robust about it. It's why it's an easy way to get agents in and start getting them wins. So what you can look at is the average annual premium. Let's go through it. So for final expense, if you look at final expense, average AP is going to be like $600 to $1,000, give or take, right? Vet is going to be significantly higher. It's like $1,200 to $2,000, right? Then you look at mortgage, it's typically, $1,000 to $2.5K, meaning $1,000 is going to be solo, meaning, husband. Sorry, $1,000 is going to be not married, right, or single. My bad. And then 2.5K is going to be his and hers. Now, you will have his or hers in final expense and vets, but it's not as common as a mortgage protection, just based off of like the demographic. A lot of these vets are older individuals that don't file expense, maybe widowed, divorced, etc. A lot of these homeowners are a little bit younger. They're typically married. They have kids, etc. So you can write typically higher premiums. Then you start looking at IUL. This can range drastically, but let's just say for the sake of it, it's like $1,500 to $3K. Now, I say this is higher because it depends on how you're targeting. If you're doing really simplified issued IUL, hey, get rich quick, like put $100 in and make 2 million. Like, dude, you're gonna get the wrong people. That's who you're calling out to. But if you're very straightforward, like, hey, you got to put $200, $500, $1,000 a month into this plan, right? And you can leverage this as life insurance. You're gonna get a completely different demographic. So that depends on who you're doing your marketing with. Okay, we're gonna go through what this looks like. Whole life plan, if you're gonna be direct, it's probably gonna be higher. I've seen some of these like 3 to 5K. The reason is because this is going to be like become your own bank, right? Like true infinite banking policy. People are going to go back and forth with me. And then your average commission for this can range anywhere between 5,000 to 10K for a case, right? And it's a longer turnaround time. And then when you have custom niches, what I've noticed is these are about 1,500 to 3K, because in these custom niches, you have things like doctors, lawyers, you got truckers, you've got a lot of different things, which I mean, it's like cool. Don't get it twisted, but you want to make sure that you can, you understand like who you're working with. Certain niches are not all pros. Some of the cons immediately are the simple fact that with these specific niches, it will take a little bit more time to dial in your marketing, or you have to get with a company who does specialize in that. So if you are customizing this, you're going to have to kind of come from a completely different setup. What a brilliant idea for some new leads. But anyways, so let me go back to this. So the average annual premium is important because if you're trying to get to 40K, you have to reverse engineer it. So how many sales does it take, right? We're just going to do simple math. My math's not great. Let's just say on the low end, right? Boom, do this. Let's go 40K divided by 600. So we need 66 sales on the low end, 66 sales, or we need 40 sales. Okay, we're gonna start there. Now let's go back. Let's do the same thing. All right, so how many sales does it take? And think about it, right? It's like, okay, this is important when we start getting into how this is broken down, because you need to understand that just because you have less sales does mean your skill set has to increase. So don't just think like, oh yeah, well, I need less sales, so it's gonna make my life a lot easier. It's like, no. You still better be good at selling, because if you're not, you're gonna put yourself in a tough situation. Okay. And you're gonna do this. So go here. Cool. So let's go back up. So vet, how many sales does it take? Right. So pretty simple. We'll do 1,200, 40,000 divided by 1,200. So 33. Let's just say 33 to 20. Okay. If you're doing this, so 40 to 40 to 16. That's not a lot of sales, y'all. Like on the low end, that's 40 to 16 sales. Okay. Sales. Okay. That's like, we're not talking about a lot here, y'all. 1,500 to 3K. I think we already did that, but we'll do that. So how many sales? So 1,500. 40,000 divided by 1,500. Ooh, my bad, y'all. So 1,500. 26.6. And then if you're doing 3K, so 40 divided by 3 is 13. Okay, 3 to 5. And you guys are probably like, yo, this dude's tripping. It's like, no, not. Right? 13 to 8. Golly. That's not a lot at all, y'all. And then this is pretty simple. So you got 8 to 4 cases, and then 1.25. So I think I already did this one. 40 divided by 1.5. 26. Yeah. 26 to 13. Okay. Now, why is this important? Because this now determines how many sales you need to make, which then determines probably how many leads you need to get based off of your current law of averages. So it's all math. Like a lot of times we try to make very emotional decisions about growing a life insurance agency and becoming profitable. And it's not emotional. It's like, oh man, I'm dialing all day. It's like, okay, let's just look at the numbers. If I spent this, I got this much out. So I just need to remove it and look at it this way and say, if I spend more, I'll get more, and just keep it super simple. The biggest issue you have is when you say, well, I'm going to spend this and then try to do this. And it's like, well, if you figure out how many sales, and I'm not going to spend the whole video going through it, but think about it. Well, I guess I could for the sake of it, but think about it. Just keep it super simple. How many sales do I need? That determines how many leads I need to get, right? And then you just buy the leads. So let's just say to get one sale, right, you need 15 leads, okay? So if you get 15 leads, we're going to do this for simple sake. Let's do it. So let's just say 15 leads equals one sale. Okay, how do we get that? So out of 15 leads, we're going to have 2 disconnected numbers, or just like 2 numbers that are not available, right? Don't ring, whatever, right? So that's going to take us to 13 leads. Then out of those 13 leads, we're going to have 4 people not interested. Okay, so that's going to take, my bad, minus 4 equals 9 leads. And out of those 9 leads, you're going to have minus, let's say, 4 people do not pick up. And then you're going to have, so now we're at 5 leads. And out of those 5 leads, you're going to have 3 booked. Let's go. Minus 2 no-show. So that equals 3 leads. Then 3 appointments show. Minus 2 no closes equals 1 close. Right, 1 close equals average AP. Now I'm just using that. These numbers will change. This is probably a realistic number for, I would say, final expense or vet. Mortgage protection might be like 12 leads. You know what I mean? Maybe 10, give or take. But this is typically what it looks like. Now, if you're better, you'll close more, which means that your average close will go up. So let's say you do get those 3 appointments to show out of those 15 leads and you close 2 of them. You're looking at a drastic difference as you scale, because for every 15 leads, you get 2 sales. Or if you break it down in half that, for every 7.5 leads, essentially, you get 2 sales. Or you get 1 sale, I apologize. So then it's like, okay, so for every 7.5 leads, I get 1 sale. So let's say I do 7.5 times 10, right? So that's 75. So that's 10 sales would require me to get 75 leads, right? So if I want to get 10 sales, I need 75 leads. Let's say we're doing mortgage for this example. So if I need to get 40 sales at selling at 1K, which is very unrealistic, let's average this. So 40 plus 16 equals 56 divided by 2 is 28. Let's say on average, I need 28 sales per month to get to 40K, to equal 40K. Well, I just told you, based on that math that we did up here, right? So this is not this. Let's say that this number, let's call this final expense slash vet. And then let's call this, I'm gonna just take this whole thing and I'm gonna say 15 leads equals 2 sale, right? So out of that, we actually close 2 and then 2 average AP. So what this really means, you could just half these numbers. So to keep it really simple, we would do 7.5. So let's actually do that from the top. So 7.5 leads, let's just call it 7 leads to keep it simple, equals 1 sale, okay? So out of 7 leads, you're gonna have 2 disconnected numbers or people that are not interested. That's gonna leave you with 5. You're gonna have 2 people that are not interested. So let's do this. Let's go here. So that's 5. Now you have 5 leads. 5 leads minus 1 not interested equals 4 leads. Then 4 leads minus 2 no-show equals 2 leads. And then 2 leads. This is not interested slash like people don't pick up. That's what I'm going to call this because it's less leads. Okay. 2 appointments show equals 50%. Closing, 1 close equals average AP. This is a little bit more realistic for like mortgage protection. So let's just say that we're doing this math. Right. And most people never actually sit down and break these numbers down. So it's like you're just so emotional about what you're doing and you don't really understand. So if you say for every 7 leads, and this number is actually 7.5, it's not going to be 7. That's really, really low. But let's just say for every 7.5 leads, you get 1 sale. Okay. So that means if I get 75 leads, so that means 75 leads equals 10 closes. Okay. And if 10 closes on average, let's just say it's 2.8K premium, because we're basically saying, my bad. Let me go back here. So we're going to do 3.5 divided by 2. So the average annual premium, average AP is 1.75K. Okay. So that means that I've made 11,075 off of 10 closes. That's actually really bad if you're closing like on average 1,700, but that's off of 75 leads, right? That's not phenomenal, because that means that you didn't really close a lot of big business. But let's just say that those are the numbers. Then based off of that, if you're doing that, that means that 1.75, you're basically going to be making, you're going to have to get 75 times, or sorry, 10 times 4. So you're going to have to basically get 75 times 4, 300 leads a month. So 300 leads per month will equal 40K. You're probably like, okay, how did you do that? Right? If it's 10 closes equals 75 leads, and then you got, which equals 11.75K. Then you just multiply that times 4, and that's going to basically get you 44K in AP. per month, right? Because you basically have to buy 4 batches of that. 4 times 75 is how we got that too, by the way. Right? So just to do simple math, we just did 4 times 75 leads equals 44 of them, which is also equivalent to 300 leads per month. So you have to get basically 75 leads per week. That's bad. Like if you're getting 75 leads and you're only making 11K, that's not really great, because considering that mortgage protection leads can be like $35 to $50. If you're doing 35 times 75, that means you're spending $2,600 a week, which isn't like horrible. That's kind of realistic. But like if your sales skills get better, you'll be crushing it. Now, why that's important is because you can do that same math for every single lead type based on what your average AP is, typically how many leads you get to close. You don't have to go to a lead vendor and ask them how much you make. You just got to figure out, okay, what's my average AP? And then what do I typically close? And I need to find leads that fit within that range. But you have to have data, because here's the thing. If you can take that from like aged leads and move it to fresh, then your data is going to be a little bit more concrete. And that's the difference, right? It's that simple. So you can reverse engineer it. We said that right now, right? You're going to need 75 leads, right? Or essentially in this one, you're going to need 33 to 28 on average. Sorry. You're going to need about 28 on average sales. Now, if you crush it and you're just smacking 2.5K, then you only need 16. But if you're not, then you need to get 40. Right? So it's like this number is you getting 40 closes. And that's not really, yeah. I mean, it's less than that, obviously, right? Because it's 44 point whatever. But you get the point. It's like 30 something. So realistically, what you could look at is figuring like, okay, how many leads do I need to be able to make 40K off of this one lead type? Now, in my opinion, it comes back to figuring out what are you good at? Because if I'm looking at leverage tells me that these whole life deals are probably the best way to go. But you got to figure out somebody who can generate those leads, right? It's like, can you make, because this is not this whole life infinite banking, and these leads are going to be relatively expensive, but you don't need to make that many sales. So if you make 8 sales a month, how many leads do you need to make 8 sales in this niche? It's like, you're not that many. You probably need like 50 super qualified ones to get like 8 sales, maybe 100. So if you get 100 and you close 8 of them, so you close 13, that's 13% of the leads, not of the people that booked. So your closing percentage will still be a lot higher. And then you do annuity, same thing. How many leads do you need per month? And this is how you reverse engineer based off of where you're at. You don't do it based off of emotion. You do it based off logic. You just look at the numbers, remove the emotion, look at the numbers and say, hey, this is what I make on average. And here's the thing. The best way to do it is reverse engineer your average AP, because that will tell you how many sales you need. And then you need to figure out how many leads does it typically take you to make a sale. And then you just scale that way. You just buy the leads. And then you just remove everything. So if it's like, hey, I'm working with this company right now. I don't love the leads. I got bad disconnected numbers. And somebody's like, well, what are your KPIs? You can tell them like, hey, like my cost per book call is $200 typically. You know what I mean? My closing percentage from presentation is like 50%. My average annual premium is 2.2K. It's like, okay, that's perfect. So now we know how many leads you need. Most people are just like, yeah, let me get some leads. And then they get upset when they don't convert because they don't have a game plan. It's like, yeah, you're not going to convert because you don't even know what you're looking for. So you're like, this is bad. It goes back up to here. You're saying the leads are bad, but it's like, you don't even have a definition of what is bad. That's the question. It's like, when you say leads are bad, what is bad, right? Define it. Come up with what does bad mean? Like, does bad mean that they're not good numbers? Does bad mean that people don't know what it is that they're filling out? Because it's like, everybody doesn't know what it is that they're filling out. I call people all the time like, oh, wait, I filled out a bunch of stuff. I'm like, dude, you are the same person that you don't want to pay for. You're like, oh, I don't want leads. They don't remember what it is. Like, dude, you don't remember what it is. I asked you, what did you do? And you're like, no. Do you remember what you wore yesterday? Do you remember what you wore 3 days ago? Most people be like, no. They have no idea. You'd be like, what did you wear yesterday? They don't know. So don't be upset because you're getting stuff for people that don't know, because at the end of the day, you're running direct response ads. You're not building a brand. It goes back to what I always say, like you would feel differently if you were building a brand because people would actually know who you are. So when you call them, they would understand what it is. People don't know what it is because you're just paying for leads, which is fine. But don't be upset because people don't know what it is. You're not going to find better leads. That's a part of buying leads. You're not building a brand. Brand means they know who you are. Leads means you're just calling data. It's just fresh data of people that are interested, and you have to be better at selling. If you don't want to be as good at selling, you need to do what I call equity advertising. You need to start actually running ads, building a brand, taking time, getting in front of the camera, creating trust. That takes time and effort. There's no easy way out. You can't buy your way into saying, like, I'm not going to work and get better at sales. You either get better at sales or you pay more money for marketing. You got to pick and choose. Or you say, hey, I don't want to be great at sales, so I'm just going to build this big brand because I don't really like the idea of selling. Cool. You still got to put up the money. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to put up the money and not do the skill. You got to figure out one or the other. If you got a lot of money to burn the money. Burn the money, spend the money on ads, let the ads run, let the algorithm, people will see you. They'll know who you are. You'll call, but you're still going to have to sell them. You're still going to have to work on your skills. You cannot negate that. If that was the case, people that have all the money wouldn't do anything. They would just literally, they wouldn't hire sales teams. They'd hire their mom and they'd get them on a call and they would close them. That's not how life works. So if you have the wrong misconception about like what it actually takes and like how you can grow, then you're just screwing yourself. But if you don't even define what bad is, then you can't say it's bad. These leads suck. They're bad. They're not good. It's like, dude, do you even understand what, like, are you calling the people and saying the right things? Have you asked the company what's on the marketing? Do you understand what to say on the intro? If you don't, going back to what I said at the beginning, you are hurting yourself because all that's happening is when you're calling people, they're confused on what it is they filled out. The leads aren't bad. That's why I can give people older leads and they do well. Why? Because they have determined what the script is for them to say to the person to bring it back to their memory so they can close them. Why do you think that works? It's not, this lead was filled out 30, 40, 50, 60 days ago. This person's not more interested then than they are now. The difference is the person who trained them on how to do that, trained them on how to, what to say, to recreate curiosity and get them interested in what they filled out. So it's like if you just applied that and took time to learn how to craft new leads, you would approach it differently. Hey man, what's on the ad? What should I say? Like you got to ask these companies, like, what am I supposed to say? If you don't know what to say, then it's like, yeah, of course you're going to just get slapped in the face and people are going to be like, I don't know what it is, or I'm not interested, or leave me alone. Like when I call leads, I don't, like ever since I started generating the leads, my whole perspective changed because I did what I wanted. I wanted somebody to tell me what was on the ad, what to say. I hated buying leads and I was like, I don't even know what to say. And I'm calling them using the script and they're like, kick rocks. I would never blame the leads. It's like, bro, I don't know what they're seeing. That's why people think mailers are better. They're not better because people go out to the mailbox, bro. People fill stuff out and know what it is that they filled out. The difference is that, yes, they filled it out, but you are calling them with a different level of conviction because when you call them, you regurgitate, hey, I had this paper that you filled out. It has this, it's a blue envelope. You said boop, 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 and you went to the mailbox. The problem is not that with digital leads. When you call digital leads, you don't know the picture because the companies aren't giving you the picture of what's on the ad. So of course you don't know how to say what you need to say to convert the client because it's not on the ad. You don't know it's on the ad. You're using a script that's not in alignment with what they're saying. The moment people understand this, just like my client did, they start making sales and having better conversations because they run the play the way it's set up to be run. Not the way they want to run it, not the way that they think is comfortable. They figure out what works, they ask the questions, and then they run it. And that's why it doesn't matter the lead type. You can hit 40K. You can hit 40K with Final Express. It's not hard. I can give you a bunch of numbers. If you call and say the right thing, you'll close them. Every 10 to 12 leads will be a close. Boom, 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 boom. You'll run it up. If your average and your premium is $600 or $1,000, you make 40 sales, you buy enough leads, like you're good. It's simple. It's not hard. But you can't do it until you know what's on the lead, you understand the lead type, the demographic of the lead, and what the expectations for it are. And you create the right script to know exactly, hey, this is what I got to say to the client to get them to move. This is what I would say to them to get them to remember what it is, right? So as always, please make sure that you like, comment, subscribe. I hope this video was helpful. If you're interested in figuring out like how maybe, hey, look, we can partner up with you, or I have a business, I'm trying to grow, I'm trying to scale. Like we've helped numerous agencies scale. We're at the point now where we're pushing agencies to $1 million a month. We've obviously helped over 550 agents. I would love for you to go to the website and apply, see if you're a good fit. If you're not, that's fine. We have lead options. Everything I just defined. We'll still give you the blueprint, the scripts, everything. You may just not be eligible to partner with us right now, which is fine. We like agencies to be doing over $150,000 to $200,000 a month and have at least a few agents who, and by a few, I mean 2 or 3 that are doing 15, 20K. If they're not, then it's kind of hard because the investment's not going to make sense transparently. And even if it is, because we have options that fit different people, depending on where you're at, we can bring you in and work some sort of partnership up with you. But if you don't even have those caliber of people, it's just going to be too much effort on our end to teach you how to do these things. So that's why I created this content. If you can leverage this and start making more money, then eventually you'll want to partner with us and we'll just continue to help you grow. So as always, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow. You have a great day. Peace.